would like you to meet Ares, the ultimate AI soldier. He's biblically strong, lightning fast,
Greetings, programs. Finally, you're jumping back into Tron. It's been a while. It's one of my favorite franchises because I feel it's a very unique premise. It's a story that there's nothing like it, and I'm happy to jump right in. I feel like it captures the imagination and transports you into places you didn't think possible with its beautiful and arresting visuals as well as its technical achievements. So what I'm going to do like an overture, a slight recap of the events that have led to Tron Ares. It's going to be a quick fire type of thing. So kicking things off, we have Kevin Flynn. Kevin Flynn is a very talented tech whiz who designs one of the most popular games for a company called Encom. However, he also designs a chess game that slowly evolves into an AI program called the Master Control Program, or the MCP. So what happens is the MCP approaches one of Flynn's colleagues called Dillinger, a name you should keep in mind because it's going to pop up later. And Dillinger and the MCP steal credit, and therefore Dillinger is appointed head of Encom. And therefore, obviously, Flynn isn't happy about that, and he sets out to get evidence to prove that indeed Dillinger stole credit. So Flynn has two friends, Laura and Bradley. Bradley has created a security program named Tron. Tron is essentially a security program tasked with protecting both the users, which are the humans, and the programs. And Laura has designed a laser that is able to digitize things from the real world and transport them into the digital world. Meanwhile, the MCP is busy absorbing programs it finds useful, and the one that it doesn't find useful pits them against each other in these brutal gladiator-style games like the discourse and the light cycle battles. And Laura, Flynn, and Bradley do break into Encom. However, the MCP does spot Flynn on CCTV and uses Laura's laser to digitize him from the real world into the digital world. And this is where Flynn meets up with Tron, and together they do end up taking down the MCP and gaining evidence to prove that Dillinger indeed did steal credit for Flynn's work. And therefore, when Flynn is reanimated back in the real world, he's appointed head of Encom. Now, fast forward a few years later, Flynn is really fascinated by the digital world and therefore embarks on creating his own version called the Grid with all sorts of topography and cities. And he does this with the help of Tron, this security program, which is like a cross between Batman and Snake Eyes, really badass, as well as he creates a Clue, an image of himself. Now, Clue is tasked with creating the perfect system within this grid. However, like all AI in movies, we do realize that, okay, at the end of it, all humans are the imperfection, which is the realization that Clue comes to, and therefore decides to take out Flynn, as well as find a way to get into the real world and take out all the humans. However, Flynn is saved by Tron in a last-ditch effort to help Flynn run away. Tron is compromised and he is repurposed by Clue and transformed into an evil henchman named Rinsler. So enter Sam Flynn. Sam Flynn is Kevin Flynn's son, who is the heir to Encom. And Bradley, remember Bradley? Bradley approaches Sam and tells him like, okay, listen, here is evidence that, can help you find where your dad vanished off to. Because Flynn has been trapped in the grid for over 20 years. So Sam embarks to find his father and ends up in the grid because he encounters Laura's laser and is digitized into the grid. He ends up meeting up with his dad, and together they try and take down Clue. And they do realize that Clue has found a way for the programs to transport themselves from the digital world, the grid itself, into the real world. And therefore Clue has created an army of programs. So Sam, Flynn, and Cora, one of the programs that have been helping Flynn throughout his time trapped in the grid, able to take down Clue. And Tron, who's corrupted and one of Clue's enforcers, is able to break free and redeem himself in what is the ultimate act of sacrifice. And therefore you see him turn good at the end of the movie, thus affording Sam and Cora the time required for them to go back into the real world. So this is a digital saga that's full of genius, redemption, betrayal, and neon glory, all paving way for Tron Ares.
So much talk of AI and big tech today. Virtual worlds, what are they going to look like when we get there? Well, folks, we're not going there. They are coming here.
Also, this is going to be a non-spoiler review, so I'm not going to delve into any more information so as to avoid spoilers. And also, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell to receive updates on all new reviews and movies releasing. And if you don't, then you suffer the chance of being deranged. We'll pick up the story where Julian is heading Dillinger Systems that he inherited from his grandfather. And both Dillinger Systems and Encom have discovered a way of bringing the digital world into the real world. And in as much as Encom is more focused on using it for good, Dillinger Systems is more focused on the military applications of the technology.
They don't need food.
Shed no blood.
They're not human. And that's what makes them the most dangerous weapon on the planet.
Mayday, mayday!
Supremely intelligent. And if he is struck down on the battlefield, I will simply make you another.
However, they realize that whatever they bring from the digital world has a shelf life of 29 minutes, and therefore this throws a curveball into the plans.
You left out the part where you can't keep this thing alive for more than 25 minutes.
29.
Tick-tock!
And therefore it's a race to find the solution to give whatever they bring from the digital world into the real world permanence. And this same case falls for Encom, which is now being led by Eve Kim.
We came here from the digital world, looking for something you've discovered. And some of us will stop at nothing to get it.
I'll kick off by saying that the visuals are really beautiful. This movie is well shot, and in IMAX presentation, 10 out of 10. Very beautiful, in line with any Tron entry. In fact, the visual language in this movie, masterfully done. I'll give it raving reviews. However, the story on the other side, that's a whole other story. Also, we have a group of really talented actors who headline this movie. People like Jared Leto, Greta Lee, Gillian Anderson, Jodie Smith, and even Peter Evans are mostly in supporting. However, they're led down by a very weak script and a very weak and rudimentary story. What you do get is essentially a bogged down or really a forced entry into this franchise, because to be honest, it didn't make a case for itself as to why it should exist or having been made, because what it does is it relies heavily on nostalgia factor and a lot of narration. This movie is like 80% narration. In fact, I wish this movie was called Tron the Exposition, because it loads you with so much exposition about what is happening or what happened before, and it really doesn't trust the audience to carry the movie themselves. And therefore what you end up with is a nostalgia ridden narratively or exposition ridden movie that is hollow on the inside. The characters themselves are mostly one note. They don't really have any layers to them. All of them, actually, there's no one who stands out. In fact, the only person I can give credit to is Gillian Anderson, and she has the least amount of screen time. Everyone else is just feels so hollow. Jared Leto and Greta Lee have zero chemistry. Jared Leto is mostly, I think maybe the performance he was given for Ares was a bit of a letdown. It was a bit muted and metered, but it was still empty. As well as Greta Lee. Greta Lee, anyone could have played that. Like, you could have taken like a cut out of Greta Lee, and it would still have done the same job that Greta Lee did. And as far as the story itself, let down. Also, the villains in this, very, very, very weak. I was really looking forward to Peter Evans and Jodie Smith as the villain, Dillinger and Athena. However, in as much as they have good action sequences, their motivations, the character themselves are very annoying. They're mustache twirling type of villains. They're over the top villains, and man, they're going to leave you, cringing. And therefore, I wouldn't say that I had a good time with this. I was looking forward to this quite a lot, and I was a bit let down, given that I'm a really huge Tron fan, and I was really looking forward to it, and I was rooting for this. And yeah, so I wouldn't say this is the best entry into the Tron franchise. In fact, I still say Tron Legacy is still the best within this movie. And also, if you've not watched the first two Tron movies, you're going to have a lot of difficulty trying to make of what's happening in this movie. So this movie forces you to, or it assumes you've watched the first two movies, which leans back into the nostalgia factor that it hopes it's going to win you over with. And therefore, I'm going to give it a rating of 5 out of 10. I wouldn't recommend this movie. And yeah, so I think those are my final thoughts. If you do enjoy these reviews, then kindly don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell to receive updates on all new reviews, movies, and TV shows releasing. So in the next one, cheers.